Boris's Best of British Bulletin, episode 19, 13th of November 2020. The thing I regret most about these bulletins is the actual events that inspire them. I know they're satirised to try to give some light relief, but they're all actually happening. So, neck a pint of vodka, hide your firearms, let's roll. In Scots Tory news, Scots Tory branch office supervisor Dross MP had a Zoom chat with some veterans on Armistice Day. Clearly there was no refereeing needing done this time, Dross? Dross MP also had time to have a Zoom meeting about the challenges facing the oil industry in the UK. Of course, he neglected to mention that the biggest challenge is the fact that the UK government only made $1.4 billion from the industry in 2018-19, whilst Norway made $25.4 billion, selling roughly the same amount of oil for the same international prices to the same consumers. As we all know, freedom of information requests have opened up a whole new avenue of information for concerned citizen journalists like my good self. But I'm sure the flip side is the whole new avenue of pain caused to our politicians. A freedom of information request was made and fulfilled on Wednesday for copies of emails sent to First Minister Nicola Sturgeon from members of the public regarding their concern, anger, unhappiness and or similar at firstly, the announcement of the referendums bill in her programme for Government 20 to 21, and then, secondly, the Scottish Government's decision to actively pursue another independence referendum, but the email does not necessarily need to reference the referendums bill. The Scottish Government revealed that nobody, not one person, had complained about the announcement of the referendums bill in the programme for Government. However, 4 people had emailed Sturgeon to complain about Indy. Yes, in an electorate of just shy of 4 million people, only 4 were unhappy enough about our pursuit of independence to make it known. That's literally 1 in a million. It's not known who submitted the Freedom of Information request, but it's almost certainly unionists. In fairness, it might not be, but we really hope it is, because then it's a plot that's backfired horribly. In UK Tory news, well, the news has been surprisingly quiet on this momentous occasion, but it looks as if I, DaviePHD, have a world exclusive. So here goes. Are you listening? The UK has a new Prime Minister. Confused? I was too. It all started when the former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, wanted to promote one of his advisors, Mr. Lee Kane, to be his Chief of Staff. If anyone is unsure who Lee Kane is, here's a photo of him hard at work back in 2010. Always great to have serious people in such important jobs. Anyway, it appears that the appointment of Lee Kane ruffled a few feathers and was eventually blocked by none other than, drumroll, Miss Carrie Simons. Yes, folks, we all thought it was Dominic Cummings pulling Boris's strings, but it was his fiancée all along. We hear Miss Simons has been to see the Queen, in a socially distanced manner of course, and sought her permission to form a government. At least the briefings will become a whole lot more watchable from now on. All hail Carrie Simons, Prime Minister, and let us here at Davie's Indy Vlog be the first to congratulate you. Here she is, going into number 10 with her fiancé. But what about poor Boris? Well, dinna worry, he's got a new job already. In Chumocracy news, Randox Healthcare are to be congratulated on having their contract to produce COVID-19 testing kits for the NHS extended by another £350 million of our money. This is despite the fact that the last batch of test kits they provided at a cost of over 130 million quid of our money were all unusable crap. But the Health Secretary, the actual Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, has decided to give them even more public money without even bothering to offer the bid to other companies. Their consultancy staff, including Owen Paterson MP, Conservative, must be delighted. On Tuesday, Baroness Dido fucking Harding, head of Serco Test and Trace, gave evidence to the Commons Health and Science Committees, who are holding a joint Coronavirus Lessons Learned inquiry. Lesson number 1, surprisingly, wasn't don't employ vaguely aristocratic, self-entitled corporate failure fuckwits to key positions in the fight against COVID-19, no matter which MP they are married to. Lesson number 2 wasn't a surprise. It's better to work well than to work hard. Though Baroness Dido fucking Harding went to great pains to repeatedly say that she and her team were working very hard, anyone with any sense knows that if you don't know what you're doing, the harder you work, the more you fuck it up. I'd rather people work well and work hard, but if only one is possible, it's preferable to work well. In fact, so incompetent is Baroness Dido fucking Harding that Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock are being sued over her appointment. Many people linked to top Tories have been handed coronavirus roles, without proper due diligence, and in this case it hasn't gone well. You really would have thought that John Penrose MP, the government's anti-corruption champion, perhaps could have been a little more proactive. After all, no one else in the world knows better how bloody useless Baroness Dido fucking Harding is, as she's his wife. Well, I said nobody, but Talk shareholders don't have a high opinion of her. Nor do their customers, tens of thousands of whom had their data breached when she was in charge. Moving on, Health Secretary Matt Hancock has defended the outgoing Vaccine Task Force chief amid reports that she spent £670,000 of our money on public relations advisors. Vaccine Task Force Chief Chair Kate Bingham used 8 consultants to oversee media strategy who are linked to a firm almost too predictably owned by Dominic Cummings' father-in-law. Mr. Hancock said this had been signed off by business department officials and thanked Miss Bingham for her service. The government says she was always due to leave her government role in December. But asked if he was comfortable with the cost, Mr. Hancock replied, "Of course." Speaking to BBC's Today programme, he said, "Frankly, what matters is the substance of what the Vaccine Task Force have done. I would go out of my way to thank Kate Bingham for her services she has given to the country," he added. To be fair, Miss Bingham, she has done a very good job, unlike Baroness Dido fucking Harding. And during all of that vital work, she even had time and the presence of mind to ensure that some of her mates can make some serious cash on the side from the whole thing. Miss Bingham was appointed chair of the UK's Vaccine Task Force in May, and as reported here last week, showed government classified documents to a Zoom meeting of online investors. In one of those coincidental coincidences that seem to be happening a lot, the government then announced the results of the Pfizer COVID vaccine trials. And in another totally unrelated coincidence, the UK government has now ordered 340 million doses of 6 vaccines, all of which were totally coincidentally in the PowerPoint slides shown to attendees of Kate Bingham's investor Zoom meeting. It is also a total and utter coincidence that her husband is a Conservative MP. One can't help but wonder if all of this is just a little bit corrupt. I think I might place a call to John Penrose MP, the government's anti-corruption champion. Voicemail. Perhaps corruption, with a bit of competence thrown in, is acceptable. We at DaviePHD's Indy vlog are delighted there seems to be a vaccine coming soon. Pfizer have beaten off stiff competition and produced a COVID-19 vaccine. But we do have a concern. This vaccine will be made in Belgium, which is in Europe, and needs to be stored and transported at -70 degrees, or else it will become inactive. Are the UK government 100% sure that nothing is going to happen in the near future which could, say, cause mammoth queues and monstrous delays at UK ports of entry? Which brings us neatly onto Brexit news. The UK's haulage and logistics groups have lambasted the government for failing to produce a handbook to help truck drivers prepare for new border controls that will come into force on January the 1st. Officials at the Department for Transport are rushing to rewrite early drafts of a handbook that were rejected as unusable. Elizabeth de Jong, the Policy Director of Logistics UK, which represents the freight industry, told MPs on Wednesday the original version was not fit for purpose since it failed to answer the basic question: what documentation and checks do I need for my journey? A new draft is due on November 18th, and the final version is not expected to be delivered until December 7th, less than 4 weeks before the end of the transition period. It will then need to be translated into multiple languages, since 80% of cross-channel lorry journeys are made by EU drivers. Richard Burnett, Chief Executive of the Road Haulage Association, said he had been left speechless by the failure to produce a workable guide of the kind that previous governments had produced for no-deal Brexit contingency planning. As we all know, there was an election in the United States last week, and while there's much wailing and gnashing of teeth still to endure, it seems Joe Biden has won. As the greetings flooded in from around the world, our own Nicola Sturgeon had 2 of her tweets read out on American news channel NBC. Some folk just couldn't bear to see our Nick mentioned amongst world leaders. This just shows that the Americans haven't a clue who Nicola Sturgeon is or what she stands for. If anyone has raged against democracy, it's her, tweeted one. The hypocrisy of Sturgeon's 2 statements made about the US elections are obviously obvious and clearly shows she's not fit for office, tweeted another. With so many Yuns going tonto because Nicola Sturgeon is being described as a world leader, it's clearly upsetting all the right people. The official response to the tweets was released by Holyrood. So it fell to Boris Johnson to put this right on behalf of the ever-competent UK government. And so this message was tweeted on the Number 10 Twitter account and fucked it right up. Downing Street's congratulatory message to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on winning the US presidential election contains a hidden message congratulating Donald Trump for winning a second term in office. Above and behind the words Joe Biden on his election, the shadow of the words Trump on become faintly visible, where the main message reads, "The US is our most important ally and I look forward to working closely together." The words second term appear, and below the words shared priorities is the phrase on the future of this. Yes, our ever-competent UK government, who have spaffed billions of pounds away under the cover of COVID-19, couldn't even draft 2 separate graphics as a contingency. And that isn't the worst of it. According to reports, former US President Barack Obama is rumoured to be under consideration as President-elect Biden's next UK ambassador. That may put Boris Johnson in a sticky position. He has more than once made remarks about America's 44th president that might be considered insulting. Writing in The Sun in 2012 about the decision to remove a bust of British wartime leader Winston Churchill from the Oval Office shortly after Obama took office again, Johnson, who was Mayor of London at the time, said, "Some said it was a snub to Britain. Some said it was a symbol of the Park Kenyan president's ancestral dislike of the British Empire, of which Churchill had been a fervent defender." In fact, not for the first time, Johnson had got his facts wrong. The bust was only ever on loan to the Oval Office for the duration of George W. Bush's presidency. It was moved elsewhere in the White House in 2012. Now, after all that rancour, who better than a veteran and respected MP like John Redwood to smooth all those ruffled feathers? Well, as it turned out, anyone would have been better. The Brexiteer MP penned what pro-Brexit newspapers have described as a warning letter to President-elect Joe Biden over Brexit. John Redwood said he accepted that Biden now has a clear mandate in America, but he has also claimed there was a larger percentage mandate for the EU referendum result. The Brexiteer also told the new leader of the country that the election result also demonstrated that Donald Trump had considerable support for his Republican vision, with 70 million votes. He wrote, "The UK's EU referendum gave us a larger percentage mandate for exit than your own convincing win, so you'll understand the importance to us of becoming a truly independent country again on the 1st of January next year." He urged the President-elect to work with the British government to achieve its goals on both sides of the Atlantic, denying there was a Tory plot to undermine the Good Friday Agreement. He continued, "I must stress that the UK does uphold the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland. As we leave the EU, we have no plans to impose a hard border between the UK and the Republic of Ireland, contrary to false EU rumours. Instead, he told the next president to take up with the European Union fears of a border, which he suggested was the fault of them alone. He said, it is the EU which seems to be planning a new border controls on their side of the border, which you may like to take up with them. What John Redwood seems to forget is that the Good Friday Agreement was made between the UK government, the Republic of Ireland, all the Northern Ireland parties, with the US as a mediator. Guess who wasn't involved? The EU. Guess who wasn't breaking the agreement? Yeah, you've guessed it. The EU. So if this impasse is going to be sorted out, it will fall to the same parties to sort it out again. None of which is the EU. You really think a veteran and respected MP like John Redwood would know all this stuff? Well folks, that's it for this momentous week. Momentous, but still crappy week in Tory Britain. Which leaves me with just one question. Are you yes yet? Stay classy, Scotland. DaviePHD.